Okay, folks, good morning. Let's get one zoomed in quick closer. Okay, that's about right. All right, so we got these two U.S. troopers. We get the more Shermans that decided to show up. They found out it was a Sherman party. Paint these two troopers this morning. Oh, this poor guy. He has a face that's been mangled. Let me see if I can clean that up. No, I don't know that I can. And have this poor guy looking like the Elephant Man. And he's not even British. Okay, that'll do. We'll just have to paint. Half of his face is okay, and the other half is not. You get that flash line that runs right through his face, and part of it's mangled. We'll paint that like it's okay. He'll turn out over all right, but having this big knob on half of his face is probably not a good idea. Okay. Mr. Ben, doing snow jobs this time in the morning. That's right. Ought to be in the government. Which government? Exactly. You subbed. Excellent. Why? You don't even know if this content's any good. It is if you've got patience for it. All right. We're going to start with the overcoat, which I had to make my own blend using, what is this? Parasite brown. I'm going to go ahead and put a little drop of white over here. We're not going to need it just yet, but we will shortly. And black. There's no painting without black. Not my style, anyways. Might need a little bit more of that, but we don't know yet. All right, now let's get a brush that's not too expensive. That one. We don't want to use the fine detail one just yet. If you use that for everything, then it's not worth a damn when you need it. Happy Sunday, folks. These should be relatively easy to paint figures because they're basically covered in an overcoat. So that means winter figures should be easier to paint. I'm guessing. And I'm pretty happy with my winter basing. Turned out about how I wanted it to. I'm going to show you something on YouTube. Some guy put his worst World War II tank thumbnail on his video yet. Some guy put up the worst World War II tank thumbnail on his video yet. What was so bad about the tank thumbnail? It's not one of those like Peacenik T-34s, is it? Like a pink commie Panzer or something like that. I've seen that one. They've got some. Oh, all right. Well, I can. You know what? I'm not going to fuck up the feed. I'm going to fire up the computer, and then I'll look at it there. Which it should be fired up anyways. I think I'm a lot better, even though it's backwards and the resolution isn't as good. It seems like you guys are enjoying, and by you guys I mean most of you are enjoying the video being filmed like this probably the best. And it's probably because it can get closer. Far worse? No, I got it. No worries, mate. No worries, mate. Let's see what we got here. No, I haven't seen it yet. I did wake up and I noticed Jeffrey tagged me on something, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I think that was actually something I'd seen before. I had seen that comic before. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here. Let's click on this. I hope it gets bigger. What? How and why was this monster of a tank created? Is it a good video? Yeah, that's kind of like what this guy's face looked like. That photograph, it looks like, what happens if a camera would stutter? I could do one of those scenarios now. I got enough Czech 38s and I got KV2s. I think I could make 4 KV2s actually. I think that's right. Of course, that story has been told so many times, and it might just be different spins of it, but the original story involves Czech 35s and a KV1. So, but I've heard it was Czech 38s and a KV1, Czech 38s and a KV2, KV2, and, Czech 35s, but the story is actually in Lithuania, where this one tank literally stops a German assault for, I forget what it is, a day. It stops an entire division for a day or something like that. I feel like it's longer than a day. I did that in the Ostfront game. I took a bunch of tanks at point blank range at a KV2. It was a KV2 happened to be in that one. And it just shot and shot into the rear. And it's in video. I'm pretty sure it's in video. One of the ones that I did. Couldn't destroy it. And there's no ramming allowed in that game. Otherwise, that might be a viable tactic. Just take a bunch of Czech 38s and just crash into it. Didn't watch much of it. What the hell is that KV? So that's actually that's a real thing. That's not him doctoring up the photo. That's a real photo. And it might be like hey, we're going to design this kind of thing, but they couldn't get one KV2 to work great, much less that. And now I think about it, if I wonder if a turret on top of another turret would work. The only situation that I know of where a turret on top of another turret would work, and it didn't work great, was this battleship called the USS, if I remember correctly, the USS Kearsarge. I think it's a dreadnought. It's after the dreadnought, and it had a turret on top of the other turret. And it looks stupid. It had like, an 8-inch gun turret on top of a 12-inch gun turret or something like that. Let's see if I remember my naval USS. It's like the only battleship that's like not named after a state. I don't know who the hell this Kearsarge is, but well, now it's an LHD. USS Kearsarge BB5. Oh, it's a pre-dreadnought. Never mind. She was named after the sloop of war Kearsarge, famous for sinking the Alabama. Okay. The only United States Navy battleship not named after a state. See if we can find a good picture of her. She's one of those ugly ships that eventually ended up having a cage mast. I hate those things. It has 2 13-inch guns and 2 8-inch guns. And the 8s are on top of the 13s. Here we go. Let's flip this around so I've got better control. There we go. Yeah, that can't be good. That can't work well. Here's what I envision happening, and I don't know if this actually happened. I don't know much about her other than she was in my battleships book that I grew up watching at the dinner table, looking at the dinner table. At the more of the breakfast table. You fire the 13-inch guns on the bottom, and the recoil so much that the 8-inch gun on the top gets knocked out of the cogs, and then it can't rotate properly. I totally see that happening, unless they rotated together, which I guess that's a possibility too. I don't know. First of all, what would you name a U.S. battleship not after a state? So what's wrong with you? I'm going to go ahead and paint his face black so we have a starting point for it. And I bet craft paint would probably work pretty decent as a primer from a flexibility standpoint. It's pretty flexible. Now, I didn't want to play with mess with fate too much. But this guy that I painted yesterday, Murphy, it seems like, he's got a primer coat, he has paint, and then he has a clear coat on him, all in acrylic. And it seems like it stiffened him up. It stiffened his rifle up a bit. It wasn't super limpy to begin with. And I don't want to put any kind of pressure on this because I'm literally treating these guys like they're made out of paper mache, as I'm concerned about the durability of the rubber, of the plastic. But it seems like it stiffened them up some. So, and I hope it's durable, because there's a lot of, I'm gonna call them castings, even though they're injection mold things. Maybe they are castings, but there's a lot of plastic castings that are pretty decent. And a lot of people are like, they're not worth painting. And I was one of them. So I don't want to paint two guys at once. That's unlike me to do that. So I prefer, I like to please each person one at a time. What? Especially if I'm doing something for the first time. I don't want to like go down the wrong road and have to fix two things. This guy has some of his pants actually showing. The other guy, though, his positioning is so. This guy does a tiny little bit as well. Ben, have you ever bought any of the any war game products by this company called, is it Mavis? Mavis? Have you ever bought any of the, no, Javis. Javis. Have you ever bought any Javis stuff? I'm not sure if they're still around, but man, they make a ton of different stuff. Like destroyed little houses, like almost like little vignettes of, you have, is it any good? Almost like little vignettes, like here's this part of a cottage that's kind of destroyed, and stuff that would work really well for like scenarios. Mavis. Now, Mavis is a float plane, and it's also a tire place now in the United States. I don't know if it's national, but like we need another tire place. Just places that do tires and oil changes are notoriously of poor quality. All of a sudden, I don't know. Maybe they always were, but I have to get my tires finally switched out on my car. They're supposed to be like 30,000 mile tires, and I've gotten like 46,000 miles out of them. They still have tread wear on them, but I am concerned if it rains on traction. So I haven't been driving as spirited but I want the same damn tires on it again. And oh, well, they're out of production now. I'm like, well, find them. So having that done soon. And the dealership actually had the best prices, which is good. That's how it should be. I mean, they have funky hours, so they should have better prices. You know, one of those places isn't even open on Sunday, so we're going to go drop the car off today. That's one of the tasks that we have to do. We had a couple of tasks this weekend. One of them is to do our taxes, which should be something that nobody should have to do. Should already be figured out. Whatever you're going to pay should already be, done. Shouldn't be a separate day for it. It's too freaking complicated. It took us, I don't know, an hour and a half or something like that. It's like, shouldn't be that difficult, Oh, you haven't used terrain. The modern, harder plastic takes paint a lot better than the old polythene-based plastic. I apply PVA wood glue after washing figures. That seems to stiffen them. The problem with that, I'm concerned, is that PVA type things can reanimate with water. And since I'm using water-based, I don't know. But, like I mentioned, I don't know if you were here. Yeah, well, you had to. You wouldn't have commented on it. It's got the Vallejo primer on it. It has the couple layers of paint because we did some layering. And then it has the Vallejo clear. I'm not going to fuck with it. I'll leave it at that. Another reason for putting your figures on bases. Well, who would put their infantry not on bases? A sadist. A sadist would not base figures. I can go both ways on the vehicles. I haven't based any vehicles in a long time because I just feel like it kills my momentum. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go back and do it, but I did get a memory. I got one of those Facebook memories. Hey, back on this day, it'll say, like a year ago or 2 years ago on the same date. And I got one, and it was a picture of the Puma that I did. And I looked at the Puma, and I don't like how it looks because it has no black lining and it has no rustification on it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but, so at some point, I'm going to go back and redo enhance, not redo, enhance some of the stuff that I have. In New Zealand, our taxes don't automatically unless you work for yourself. Must be a pain having to do your taxes. Well, let's just look at it this way. Let's say you didn't have to do taxes, right? Because that has weird exceptions, fall into us. As a matter of fact, we have to pay this year, which just meant we didn't have enough taken out. A lot of people are like, man, I love getting money back. No, you just basically gave the government a free, interest-free loan. Not in a perfect world, I'd rather it be even, but it isn't, which is stupid, but I mean, if you didn't have to do that, you could put so many people out of business and they could do something productive, make things, whatever it is that you're making, make them instead of just moving papers around from one place to the other. Right? We've had customers that we've dealt with at work, and this is all I'm going to say about work because I don't like to talk about work, because I'm not defined by what I do for a living. And I think it's really sad that some people are, but maybe they really enjoy what they're doing. But anyhow, I'm not. But we've had customers that have given us a job, and the reason they got the job is because they're a minority contractor or whatever. So it's a woman-owned business or something. And they got this job because they were eligible to apply for it. Okay, so that sounds like a good idea, right? I mean, I have no problem with that. But they don't do anything. They're just the ones that grab the job, and all they do is they say, okay, all right, we got this job, cool. Now you guys handle it. And all they're in the middle of it is just an intake. So it's kind of like welfare in a way. You're basically, They don't do it. They're not actually doing the work. All they're doing is like, yep, we're here to accept the job, and then they give the job to somebody else. And all they're doing is they're adding to the overhead of the whole thing. And I'm like, that's basically what a tax preparer is. You're just adding to the overhead of, you're not really doing anything. You're just adding more paperwork. Just get out of the way and, you know, and go do something productive. Yeah, that's probably right. We do get taxed a lot on wages. Well, I've never worked in another country, and I don't know that I want to work in another country because it's a little too late for me to that. You were used to how things are done here, but having visited other Western countries, I'll leave it at that. You guys do a lot of things that are a lot better, and including like tips and the freaking price of the food is one of them. Um, I was surprised how much cheaper food is, like at a grocery store, than here. And you know what? And I said this out loud. I said, you guys have ridiculous everywhere other than the United States. Well, any Western country other than the United States has more expensive gasoline. And you know what? It's probably worth paying more for gas if your grocery bills are going to be that much less. Because, I mean, I can drive around. I don't drive around that much. So the fact that gas costs half of what it costs in Europe, roughly, um, you're better off having cheaper. I'd rather have my groceries cost half. You know what I mean? Like, you consume a lot more groceries than gas. I do, anyways. I only drive like, shit's 4 miles to work or something like that. Maybe less than that. I come home for lunch every day. So I have some Javis 28 millimeter terrain, a few small ruined buildings, a ruined Greek temple, and some scattered terrain. No tips for that's how you do it. And I looked this up several years ago, and I said, that was probably created by some politician that benefited them in some way to have a loophole. And I looked it up, and sure enough, you're making the customers pay for it. The customers always pay for stuff. It just gets worked into your price. That's like saying, oh, we're just going to tax businesses. Businesses don't pay taxes. They get passed on to the consumer. I mean, unless it causes the business to go out of business, in which case it doesn't get passed on to the consumer because nobody's consuming anything. But I don't know how it is in other countries. It's probably the same as here. They make government things too complicated. They make between attorneys and politicians, and both of them are the same. They complicate things so much that the rest of us just go, you know what? I can't read the fine print. I don't have time for that. Fuck it. Just do whatever you want. Just let me know when it's time to be drafted to go into a war that you guys created. It's basically what it is. It's just, it's like you look at you look at all this advertising for like medicine and stuff like that. Ask your doctor about placebo. Placebo can solve all your problems, and it doesn't tell you anything what it does. It just says it might cause side effects as 12-hour erections, vaginal cramps, explosive diarrhea, and headaches. Please, but it doesn't say at that speed. Really, it's like, it creates apathy. Like, fuck it, just do either that, or you're like worried about everything. Like, oh shit, So, good morning, Marcus. Here we are solving all the world's problems. I'd be painting guys I really wanted to paint, but you had to send me these fuckers, so now I got to paint them. I'm kidding, of course. If you wouldn't have sent me these snow guys, I wouldn't have been motivated to learn how to paint snow. And now there's something else I've mastered. That's what's really your fault. You allowed me to master something else. Dang, that's terrible. Want more? No. Let me. Yes, but not yet. Yes, but not yet. And the thing is I think I'm pretty comfortable using them side by side with these guys. So in other words, I'm okay using these guys in Normandy. I'm all right. I think I can live with that. Um, so no, let's knock these guys out. Let me finish these squad of these guys. Not do any other figures. I mean, I might do vehicles in between. No other figures. Hey, I don't know if you were still on, but the Shermans made an appearance. You know, I was talking about Shermans, and I pulled out another Corgi one. I had another Corgi, so this is my fourth one. I may make this one snow. And then this monstrosity of a matchbox. This thing is, if it falls on your foot, you're going to the hospital. And on the other end of the weight spectrum, the Armor Fast one, which this is my original Armor Fast of the two. And I misplaced this. I misplaced the gun shield. I made this gun shield out of the other gun shield, out of green stuff. And then in the crap box, there's another one of these. So, but this is just a standard M4. So yeah, we got more Shermans to do. And I realized most of my earlier Shermans don't have nicknames. So I'm going to end up revisiting many of my things, but I'm not going to revisit things until it's like, all right, I want to play a scenario with 4 Shermans. Okay, 2 are painted up to standards, 2 need to be fixed. All right, so let's spend a couple hours. Would it take that long? I think I can get by with an hour each vehicle, re-enhancing it, not repainting, re-enhancing it. The one with a 76 looks like the one I have, Dragon. It's not. It's Matchbox. It's the 1998 Mattel Matchbox China 172nd. It's Sherman M4A3 Dinky. DYM 37679. You can barely make it out on the bottom. But they made a Churchill, they made a Panther, they have a Panzer IV. Did I paint that Panzer IV? A Panzer IV-H? I think I did paint that Panzer IV. That's a dinky. Yeah, this monster. This is a dinky by the same manufacturer. See, this looks fine, but it doesn't have any black lining on it. And because it doesn't have black lining, it won't have any of the, so just enhancing it. But this is 70, this is close to 76, and this is close to 72nd, so whatever. If I'm buying them and I'm not particular about scale, it's one thing, but, I already had this. What am I going to do? Not use it? So that would be silly. I just hope you didn't stir something up by doing these American troopers for Bulge. And the next thing you know, well, let me paint some SS guys for Bulge. I have them. Although I'd rather paint the SS for Normandy. If they have to paint SS. Let's see how we're doing on the coloration. Just a little bit more on the folds here, and then add a little bit of white, a little bit of a white level, and then we're done with whoever this might be. Panzer Brigade 150. No, those are captured tanks. That's the only Panther that's ugly as shit, those things. God, those are ugly. Besides, in that Battle of the Bulge game I have on my computer, the Panzer Brigade 150 only has one square. It's a tiny little unit. That's that Slytherin game. God, those games are great. I finally completed that game. I got like I got all the tasks done. I don't do that on video games usually. I give up on them before. It's like surround 500 units or whatever. And on that Battle of the Bulge game, I played it so much that I ended up. I better be careful with this. Yep, that's a color too far. That's a little bit better. You have two of the Dragon Panthers disguised as M10s. God, they're so ugly. They're ugly, man. Although I do have that King Tiger sitting over here. I got Hessler's King Tiger over there. I think that's enough. All right, all the webbing is going to be this green-gray color base. Green-gray. The webbing. Yeah, those are ugly. I think those are ugly as shit. I don't like captured vehicles, and I really don't like captured vehicles. Well, that technically not captured vehicles. They're ersatz M10s. But I can't stand like when the Germans capture a vehicle, all they do is leave it in the regular color that it's in, and just spray paint a bunch of, loud ass crosses on it. You know, this is the good one. Yep. Okay. Where's the other one? This one. Yep. So, like for instance, and you've seen these. One of the SS units had captured T-34s. They used at Kursk, but they repainted them in Dunkelgelb with the 3 color on them, and they look okay. I mean, at least they look like a German tank color-wise. But just taking an Su-85 that's just green already. And just putting big crosses on it and leaving it Russian green, I'll pass on that one. That doesn't motivate me to do anything with that. So Jeffrey, you're dabbling in 28 mil, and I bet you got 15s as well. 28 mil and 20s. It's funny with the show coming up. It's the same weekend, and the same thing happened last time I was in Jacksonville. There's a war game show the same weekend that there was a model show. And I hadn't planned on going to the war game show when I didn't. But this war game show and the model show were the same weekend in two different cities. So I'm definitely planning on going to the model show. And I'm specifically looking for aircraft that can be crashed on an airfield, that it can look disabled on an airfield. So, for City Rizé. So Axis aircraft that are cheap. Okay. I want to find that one guy selling a bunch of planes for $2.50 each. Like a CR-42 is really what I'm looking for. I'd be happy with a CR-42. The real reason the U.S. won World War II is because all of their webbing things were all in the same color. That's cost savings. Not very exciting, but practical as shit. Although I remember being a kid and I had one of these US style belts, right? That has like the two little grommets. It has like little grommets all the way around. It almost looks like it's elastic, but it's not. I can't think of what kind of material it is. I can't think. I haven't had enough coffee this morning, but it has little grommets all the way around. So then you have these things that it'll attach to your canteen. That's what it was. It was for the Boy Scouts. I had that. I had one of those belts and the canteen, and it didn't work with a shit. Maybe I had a crappy one. It just didn't work with the damn. Obviously, have much better, much more durable stuff. But I remember that thing going all over the place. You'd have it on your belt, and then next thing you know, it wouldn't fit flush up against you. It was all cattywampus and falling off, and working on some webbing for these Folgore troopers as we speak. I'm going to try a light khaki with some green added. Hard to tell from the web the true colors, but I need some uniform contrast. Contrast is very important. You're a wargaming butterfly. You're consolidating your collections currently. I'm selling some pet projects such as the Shako Wars in 28mm and Russian Civil War in 10. Did you ever play Red Actions? I think that's what it's called. For the Russian Civil War. If they played Russian Civil War now, and I mean, a war game, on the tabletop, not in real life, who would they consider the good guys? Jared, you had the same belt. They were shit. Good. they just maybe we just had a bad batch of belts. I don't know. I can't believe that the U.S. could have won a war using those things. They were just, you know, I mean, the belt itself was all right. The closure was weird. Like you had to turn it 90 degrees, put the two pieces in, and then turn it back. And that's kind of what held it on there. I'm like, well, okay. But and then you had those stupid grommets to kind of shorten the length of it. It was just like they went about it all weird. And like there wasn't enough surface area through those grommets to hold the weight of a canteen that was completely weighed down with water. It was just like the figures that are selling are based for Red Actions, looking at adapting them for very British Civil War. Guess any of the independent movements like the Baltics, Finns, Poles, etc. Every time somebody says Russian Civil War, one of the first things I think of is like, hey, didn't the battleship Iron Duke, like bombard the shit out of the forces? Like, that'd be pretty cool. Like, incoming 13.5-inch. I don't think the modern Russians are very enamored with Leninist stuff. I mean, some guys obviously are, but you'll get my coat. And the communists are never the good guys, ever. Never in my book. They could be just as bad as the other people they're fighting, but the communists are never good in my book. Hey, oh, you don't want to feel impoverished? We'll make everybody impoverished. How you feel now? I don't feel any better. My stomach's still empty. So let me know when you come across playing that Ostfront game. The part that I believe it's that game that has little in between the waiting screens. It has quotes, and one of the quotes was by Eric Hartman. The Blonde Knight. And it goes something like, "You can't say that Germany wasn't necessarily defending the racial policies of the Third Reich, but it basically said that Americans can't say anything about them because they had a segregate. Can't say anything about the Third Reich and because they had a segregated military." Like you're comparing apples to cucumbers, there, pal. Who the good guys are, depending on your outlook. The British as an empire supported the whites to maintain the status quo. Well, that's who I think the good guys are, but I look at things from a Western European's point of view. I'm only anti-British when it's the Armada period. That's the only time that, I'd rather not play the British. In a battle of the bad guys, you have the Bukharans, ancestors of some Mongols, versus the Red Army. I'd have to go with the Red Army. I hate the Mongols. Fuck those guys. They don't exactly look cute either. Had some games of Dead Man Hand at the club today. Mexicans versus Indians. Few of the top British commanders of World War II cut their teeth in intervention operations. Yeah. I'd have to go with the Red Army 2020. We better put today's date because it changes. I just can't be pro-Mongol. I could never play a game with Mongols. They're like, we're making the world better. That doesn't mean I wouldn't build a Mongol army. I was really close to building one. I think it would be interesting, or that I wouldn't paint them to do them justice. But what a bunch of rat bastards, you know? Next, we have the weather report. And I'll be honest with I like things with red stars on them. I think it looks good. Now, the hammer and sickle, you can put that up your fucking ass. I mean, I am not interested in that. I suggest you put, I don't know which one you'd want to put in first, but just don't make me watch. Hammer and sickle are fucking stupid. The hammer and sickle could go hang out with Swastika and her other sister. I made a, how can I show you this picture? Let's see. Let me think how I can do this. I made a meme because I was trying to fall asleep last night. I came across this post and I'm tired of hearing about this. So I decided to make my own meme. Let's see. I probably sent it. Did I send it to myself on Facebook? I like doing that. That's a really handy place to put things up. Let's see. If I go here, let me go to myself. And there's a way to look at activity. Where can I find activity? Likes, events, reviews given, groups, managed sections, reels, videos, photos, friends, about, how about these three dots? Archive, activity log. Here we go. Your live videos you watch, your search history, how about comments? This guy. View. Oh, let's view this. All right, this is the post. Now I'll see if I can go to my comment on it. See if I can find it. Let's go to newest. Holy shit, it's got a lot of videos. Okay, well, obviously I can't find it that way. Let me go back. Let me view. Okay, yeah, that's the post. So where's my comment on it? Since when do I have volume on it? That's weird. Okay, here it is. So here's the post. Here's the post. And then we'll go back to the Russian Civil War. I don't usually comment on these public ones, but I've had enough. So here's the post that I can. Let's turn this off so you can see it. It's kind of a cool post. How long is a day on each planet? And it has them all right there. You know? Including the disenfranchised one. Right? So somebody's comment was, nice to see Pluto back and being called a planet. And some dickweed want to say it ain't a planet anymore, it ain't like that. Where's my freaking comment? God bless it. I made a meme about this. I'm gonna share this fucker all. I've got this saved on my phone. I'm ready to fight. All right, let me. Where's my comment? If I click on this, do I get it? No, that's me. No, you can tell I don't really use this much. Go here, and this is my reply. Why isn't it here? God bless it. Oh my God. All right. Well, you're just going to have to bear with me. Hold on. All right. We're back. I just sent it to myself. I created this meme because I'm tired of bringing this up. Anyways, I was agreeing with this guy. So I made this meme. Here we go. If Pluto isn't a planet, then this isn't a duck. And I'm adamant about that. There's some things that I'm unwavering. You don't get to destroy my childhood. It's not a planet. Okay, then tell me what it is without using the word. Then tell me what it is without saying what it isn't. It's not a planet. It's a dwarf planet. Can't say planet if it's not a planet. I mean, somebody, well, then Eris should be one, because then fucking make that a planet too. I don't give a shit. Let's add more planets. Why are you going to disenfranchise a planet? Scientist nerd. Next thing you know, they're going to put, oh, dinosaurs had feathers on them. Fuck you and your feathered dinosaurs. You transgendered dinosaurs. What the hell is that, man? I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't give a fuck about dinosaurs when I was a kid if they had feathers on them. Oh, it's just a big chicken. Oh, I'm moving on. We'll skip dinosaurs and just go to World War II. Probably had a picture of Churchill on it. Probably go with the Lithuanians. I don't know. What's his name's Lithuanian, isn't he? Charles Bronson, I don't like him. I never liked him. He had that weird mustache. Like, nah, you can't be trusted. Don't stand so close to me, Charles. The Civil War in Central Europe, 1918-21, by Jochen Bohler, has drawn me into the post-World War I areas. Lots of possibilities. Absolutely. Find someone that loves you like Tony loves Pluto's planet status. That's right. You don't get to disenfranchise my childhood. And that wasn't even one of my favorite planets. My favorite planet was Saturn. It was different, had rings on it. I don't care about space shit too much, but the planets are, because they're right there. You can see them. Well, you can't technically see most of them, but or many of them. And the person that probably doesn't, that instigated, I bet you money the person that instigated the whole Pluto isn't a planet all of a sudden is somebody who fights for inclusion at every step of the way in society. So you want everybody to be included, but you want to disenfranchise a whole fucking planet. Like, what's wrong with you, man? So I made that meme. I was just so tired of bringing, I'm like, that's it. I'm going to start posting that. Maybe that's what I should do. When I go back to, if I ever go back to doing medieval shit, ancients and medieval shit, not for DBA, for something else, I should build a Mongol army. I got the figures for them. But one where they can have some dismounted troops, like, you can't take over everybody with light horse. The best thing about not playing DBA, the absolute, well, there's many good things. There's many good things about DBA. And I don't have, it has nothing to do with, I have no problem with Phil Barker. The best thing about not playing DBA is I don't have to pronounce this shit anymore. Oh, it's backwards. You know what word I'm talking about. I hate that word because it's extremely specific. It'd be like, you're building some M10 half track, M10 tank destroyers. Oh, you can't call them tank destroyers. You have to call them Panzerjägers. I'm like, come on, man. Pluto and Charon are large captured asteroids. None of these planetesimal or dwarf planets cuts the mustard. Oh, use the word planet in it. You're out. Used to enjoy playing earlier versions of DBA with my Timurids. Earlier than 2.2? I'm glad I didn't play earlier versions. I just would have had to unlearn them all. Timurids were some bad folks. Now, they're pretty cool. They're like the cool looking Mongols. I got them too. Yeah, I don't have to buy into those figures. I'm not getting rid of them all. I think maybe at some point when, I don't have enough problems in my life. I guess I'll probably go to try something else. But these people in this model group are so, not all of them, but it sure seems like most of them are real award happy. Oh, you got to go over here. You should enter the contest. I'm like, look, I have, I don't know how many awards I have. Now, given they're not for painting things, they're for gaming things, because in the DBA world, it doesn't matter what your shit looks like. It's, did you win the battle, right? I mean, some places give awards for best painted army and stuff like that, but ultimately, I only care if I'm happy with it. I'm not dying to be judged by other people. And oh, you got to go and get these awards and stuff like that. I've got, I don't know, 40, 50 wins, the little plaques. None of them are hanging up. Like, they're in a box. Like, I'm not going to throw them away either, but they're not hanging out anywhere. It's not like they define my success. So how would getting these challenge coins get, and you have to pay for them too. So you got to like go to this event. They charge you $15 to I just don't see what the point is. And it'd be the same argument. It'd be like, oh, well, you won because so and so didn't show up and they didn't enter anything. Well, it's like saying, oh, so and so won the presidency and most people didn't vote for him. Yeah, most people didn't vote, period. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's the same. I'm like, I don't need to win shit, you know, that you're basically paying for. I mean, I've won. I got to, I got tired of all the winning. Oh man, it's not important to me. Luke, what's up, Luke? They tried to steal Brontosaurus from me a few years ago, but Brontosaurus is back, baby. Is that what happened? It was basically a misaligned. I grew up with Brontosaurus, and it's like, no, it's just a misaligned dinosaur. It never existed. But then they had Apatosaurus, which is just a Brontosaurus by any other name, right? And I wasn't a fan of Brontosaurus, anyways. I mean, he didn't eat meat. He wasn't intimidating. He was big. He wasn't that big. He wasn't like the biggest one. He wasn't the longest one. He wasn't the most ferocious one. Didn't have any spikes or anything. He was just kind of like, meh, So I didn't feel the loss as much. So now he's back. Well, see, that actually has a decent name, but you get these science turds. They come up with stuff like, "Yeah, we got found a new species of raptor, and he's in Utah, so we'll call him a Utah raptor." Get out of your mom's fucking basement, you nerd burglar. Like, come up with another name, man. They were your third ever DBA army after Camillan Roman and Milanese Condata. Sold them about 30 years ago after they did well in a tournament. The guy that bought them had a big win on the lottery and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Huh. I had one guy in Miami who contacted me several times, and he wanted to give me twice the going rate for a DBA army. I'll buy one of yours. Armies were going for, I don't know, $130. I'll give you $300 for it. I'm like, nope, not selling any more armies for $300. And he couldn't understand it. I said, look, just because everybody in this country thinks everything's up for sale doesn't mean I'm willing to sell everything. Like, you can't buy some things. My wife tells me a couple of weeks ago, oh, that reminds me, I had an interesting dream. My and does it involve my wife? Not really. But um, what's going to happen to you when you die with all your figures? And I'm like, well, that's up to you. I mean, I don't necessarily need you burying them with me, but I don't want you fucking giving them away to somebody. You know, I'd like to think that you put them somewhere. I mean, it's art. It's more art than a lot of art that's out there. So, treat it as such. It's my therapy. See, for some people, therapy is drinking. You don't save all their old beer bottles. Anyways, I had a really fucked up dream. Not really fucked up, but part of the dream involved it was some kind of show where the girls were, and I mean the girls like my daughter and her friends or whatever, they were some fashion type thing. And then we're going to meet later. So I go into this elevator. I go in this elevator that was like pretty packed. And somehow this elevator was in a semicircle. So in other words, like the elevator was probably maybe the size of this room, but it had this center shaft that you couldn't see. It's like you couldn't see out. So there was like nothing looking. You're just like in this tube, and everybody's facing around it. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of people on this elevator. Wait, and then we stop at this other floor. I don't know what floor we're on, but we're up like 50 stories at least, something like that. And this lady gets on who wasn't really small. And I remember thinking, man, I hope we're not over the weight. Because at some point, I guess the capacity elevator doesn't work. I don't know. I'm in a dream. What the fuck do I know? This is not what I would have picked. If I was going to be in a dream with a bunch of ladies, I wouldn't be in a fucking elevator. That's overweight. Anyhow, so we get in this elevator, and the elevator at some point, like, you could tell it breaks. And there was standing room only in this elevator. You could only sit on the outside. And I remember looking, like, I'm not even looking towards the inside. I'm looking like towards the out at a wall because like standing room only. And I guess I didn't have enough thought, like, this is probably over. I'm just going to walk down. But anyways, the brakes given. It's kind of like speeding up faster and faster. You can kind of know what it is. And one of the ladies, like three over, is like really old, like in her 80s or something like that. And I remember, I don't make this shit up. Well, actually, I do make this shit up, but I don't intentionally make this shit up. She takes off her seatbelt. Like she knows she's going to crash and she knows she's going to die. So she wants to make sure that she's plenty dead, I guess. It made sense in the dream anyway. So she takes off it's like a lap belt that this elevator had for whatever reason. So that when it impacts, she'll hit the top and whatever. And I remember her thinking, she holds her finger. She has her finger and she has it like this. So she's thinking, I guess when she stops, she can put a finger through her own forehead and kill herself if she's not dead already. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, why the hell am I having this dream? But in this dream, you think it's real. But one thing that happens frequently is I'll have this dream that involves some form of death. Not frequently, but it does happen, like, I don't know, once a month or something like that. And when I have this dream, this death dream, it's almost in my subconscious that I'm like, I need to wake up from this dream or otherwise I will die in real life. And I like ended up waking up and I'm like, oh, I guess I got to go pee. But I didn't wake up like in a panic, but it was just like, why am I having a dream about this? And this old lady just. So inside joke, if you watch my programs, like, I think you should kill yourself. It's going to be my symbols like this. You should get in touch with Daniel Boris and see if he would be interested in your collection. No, it's not for sale. I don't want my stuff to sale. It's not. I don't want to profit off of it. I'm going to be like Picasso, except like I do know how to paint. Right? Because Picasso like died poor. Is that right? Because good, because he didn't know how to paint. He was a fucking connie. Screw him. Sounds almost like that roller coaster ride that drops down on the shaft. Oh, the one that ends? I was on one of those one time that, I don't know if it was a roller coaster. It was like you went up, 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 and then you drop, and then at the end it's almost like it does like a 90-degree turn, and you're on your back. Yeah. I went on one of those drop rides 3 years ago, and I realized I don't need to go through that again. I've done it. It wasn't that scary. It's the anticipation of the drop that's brutal. The actual drop is just fine. The G's are just fine. It's the anticipation. My hands are getting sweaty thinking about it. Um, I don't need to put myself through that, for free, So not now. Would make a great companion to the Featherstone collection. Once you're gone, I won't care. I guarantee I won't care. I won't be worried about that. I'll either be worried about nothing and that's one of these things. Oh, I guess we're going to talk about dreams. There's one of these things. I don't know if I talked about this on a show, but I think I did. What happens if you die in your sleep? Because, okay, whatever's going on now, whatever we're experiencing right now, after you're dead, I will guarantee it will not be the same thing. Okay? You'll either feel nothing, or you're going to go to some ethereal place upstairs, downstairs, or somewhere in limbo, or you'll be reincarnated as a iguana or something, but it won't be this. And when you're in a dream, you're not in this. So if you're conscious like now, and like somebody comes in and beheads me, assuming you still have a consciousness or some soul or whatever when you're dead, your body will go from this, and all of a sudden, a split second, you're somewhere else. If you feel something, okay? What happens in a dream? That's got to be really fucking weird. I don't know. So, someone pointed out most people never have phones in their dreams. I don't recall ever having a phone in a dream. I'm not saying I never did. I don't recall having a phone in a dream. Also, they say never to look into a mirror in a lucid dream. I've had a lot of dreams where I'm presumed dead. Something happens that would have killed me, but I'm not dead, but I have to play dead. And if anybody finds out I'm not really dead, that will actually kill me. So like jump off of a building, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to fucking die. And then boom, I hit the ground or whatever. And like, I'm not dead, but I got to play dead. Because if they find out that I'm really not dead, that'll actually be what kills me. Almost like I don't want anybody, like you have to kind of make sure that it's all hush hush. Because if anybody finds out that stuff doesn't kill you, like they got to kill you. I don't know that the people would kill you in the dream because you're not really dead. I think it's just the act of it. It's like, somebody better not find out you're really, that you went through, that you escaped death, because, death's going to come after you. I don't have death dreams very often, but I mean, I think everybody does. I thought about that the other day. I'm like, what if you die in your sleep and you're in the middle of a dream? Like, that's got to be fucked. That's got to be really fucked. Yeah, because whatever comes after this that we're living in isn't going to be this. I guarantee it's not going to be that. Well, I don't know. I could be wrong. I could imagine it being something like what's in your dreams. You're just perpetually like in a dream state. That hopefully makes more sense. That hopefully is not with a bunch of old ladies in an elevator. I routinely have dreams where I'm murdered. Oh, there we go. I routinely have dreams where I'm murdered or kill myself, and I just wake up after the point of death. You get murdered randomly? Like they come for you, or you just happen to be in the way, or you... I've never had a dream where I've killed myself. I don't think I've had one of those. I don't know that they mean anything. They're interesting to speculate on. I mean, if you're being honest about what you're actually experiencing, not like, yeah, I always have these dreams about being in a harem. Okay, it must be nice, making up that shit. I always get the ones where I start to run, but it's incredibly slow. That happens to me too. Then I start floating and moving into the air at that speed. I have dreams where I have a form of death, so to speak, is I get sucked out from the earth. So I like I'm going higher, and then oh shit, I'm going too high. Oh fuck, I'd say even higher now. And then it's like, you know, um, like if you do like a jump, like you do a big jump, and then the next thing you know, you're jumping like 30 feet in the air, and the next 100, then the next jump's 120, and the next one's like, and then those usually like end. I've had dreams where I have phone conversations, but without actually seeing a phone. Often they result in me waking up speaking to myself. I become the living dead. I haven't had one of those that I can recall. Violent dreams related to military service. Well, I hope you don't have them very often. Unless you fought for the communists, in which case, I hope you're tortured all the time. I'm sure you didn't fight for the communists. Be right back. I already had gotten a Coke. Something queer is afoot, and here it is. I had a guy that worked for me. He was a truck driver. He wasn't that much older than me, but he was older. And he came from Hungary. Had the people skills of an armadillo. But anyways, he was in the Hungarian army. So I told him, I said, oh, you're one of those guys on the other side of the Fulda Gap. And he looked at me like, you know. All right, so here's the dilemma that we have. We could do two flavor of pants. We can do the tan ones, which they used at Normandy all the way through the end of the war, but eventually they got phased out by the M43 pants. Or I can paint in M43 pants. The problem with doing M43 pants is I don't know what color green those are. And I could really go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what green that is. And it would look good for contrast. And I know what color I would use for the brown ones. I've done lots of the brown ones. I say we do the fucking green ones, just for contrast. This is probably in bold. 43 uniform is already out by then. Olive gray looks like a good starting point, I think. Ooh, this looks totally different. Let's see what's inside of this thing. Now, I think that talking about dreams is interesting if you're being honest with yourself. Not if you're like making up shit. Oh yeah, that's about right. That's about the right color, because we're gonna end up. We'll tinker with this as we always do. That's a decent core color. I remember when I was a kid, I had this one nightmare. Let's see, I was living in Alabama, so I was not older than 9. I was 9 at the oldest. So somewhere between 7 and 9, I had this dream that I was in this bed and I was being kept as a bitch. Let's just call it kept as a bitch for an alien. This alien was sitting on me. Not in any lewd way. There was nothing sexual about it. It was this alien that I just had to basically sit there. Almost like, remember Jabba the Hutt and the rat, right? The rat couldn't go wherever the fuck he wanted to. He was basically Jabba's little bitch. A little rat thing that, you know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, I was basically the alien's bitch. And I couldn't really look at the alien. Like I wasn't allowed to look at him because, I wasn't supposed to look at the alien, basically. So I'm feeling around the alien. Oh, this is sounding really interesting. And all I could think of is he was like a big green potato. Not unlike Jabba the Hutt, but let's see, Jabba the Hutt hadn't been invented yet. This would have been before 1983. So Jabba the Hutt wasn't been invented yet. It was like a big potato, literally like a Mr. Potato Head, big potato. And he had like these tentacle type arms. Oh, here we go, tentacle porn. No, there's no porn at all. Sorry to disappoint you. And his body felt like a 5 o'clock shadow, the whole thing. That's all I remember. And he was like sitting on my arm that I couldn't get away. And then I woke up at one point and I had fallen asleep on my arm. I'm like, just, and that's like a dream I can never forget. I don't know why. It wasn't like it was that memorable. It wasn't like it was like something exciting, you know. I don't get to pick them. I'd pick much better things that I wouldn't be able to describe on this channel, even though you'd want me to. The most common dream I have is being able to float fly. It's the most frustrating one, as I normally realize halfway through that I'm dreaming and try to control. Normally it makes me wake up though. Speaking of flying, apparently we have birds that like to follow us. And what I mean by that is they build like their nests. Maybe it happens to everybody. Maybe it's a really common occurrence, but in our entrance to the foyer of the house, there's always an alcove, and we had little finches at the other house that would always live there. And in this one, yesterday, I noticed they're building a nest behind. There's like a camera. There's like a small camera. It's about this big, which sitting up in the corner when you step outside the porch. And they're back there, and it's two birds were building, and I'm like, and they were pooping everywhere. And my wife's like, man, I said, I don't want to mess with their nest, especially if there's little ones. Because if there's little ones, I heard that if you mess with their nest, they won't come back to the nest, and then the little birds die. And I'm not a bird hater. I'm not a save the earth type of person, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to destroy things. I don't want to destroy nature things just to destroy nature things. Like it bothers me. It makes me happy to see birds, and especially the bluebirds. Now, if they're a mockingbird, those guys can go to fucking hell, every one of them. Okay, but they weren't mockingbirds. We looked up what they were. They were, I think they're called house finches. So the male has like his head is mostly red. It's not a cardinal or anything, but so we're gonna let them up there and do their thing, and it makes me happy seeing stuff like that. Got a couple bird houses out back already for the birds, and hate to sound like an old hippie woman, but there's a lot of things in nature that I like. Now, if nature comes and attacks you, yeah, by all means fight back. And I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna let the bear gore me. No, the bear gonna go down. I'm gonna get away from the bear, or we're gonna fight, go down fighting. But I don't want to hunt, and I don't need to destroy things of nature just because they're there. I'm not one of those people. Oh man, did we get caught in this thing? Sons of bitches. Yeah, there's bags to burn. Why would we destroy creatures? Damn. There we go. It sound like an old hippie woman. I don't want to hunt creatures. They haven't even done anything to me. I find it instructive how the mind works. What is this? This is one of my wife's hairs. If I grew my hair out and never got a haircut, I'd never have a hair that long, I'd hope. Find it instructive how the mind works in the dreams it comes up with. to wake me up when the need to go to the toilet becomes urgent. It's amazing that we don't pee ourselves in dreams, you know? I mean, that's the way it's supposed to work. Hasn't happened yet. Mongols are the Reds. I'm going to go with the Reds. Yeah, because the Mongols just destroy everything. Like, oh, there's books over there. Books, can't read. Ugh, burn it down. Well, now we can't use it for Normandy because he's got that color pants. Yeah. The snow wouldn't give it away, would it? All right. It's Garand time. Ye old beige brown. Oh, we need to fire this thing up, man. So we're getting hot in here. Yeah, never peed myself in bed. I guess that gives me something to look forward to. That reminds me, that must be a terrible job to work at a hotel and change out the sheets in rooms. There's all kinds of, you've seen it all. And of all the hotels I've stayed in, thank goodness, I've never seen bed bugs. I've seen pictures of them on the internet, and that is just apocalyptically creepy. Apocalyptically creepy. We do the everything towards the feet last because I inadvertently end up rubbing some of that off when I'm rotating the figure like this on the coin. So I don't want to put any effort into it and then it get taken away from me. You know, this figure has so much detail on it that you could tell on the casting here that he has the chin strap flipped over the front part of the hat of the helmet. There it is. That's how we're going to paint it. Did you end up ever playing Red Actions, Jeffrey, or you just had a base for that? I thought I turned this fan on. What's wrong with this? Oh, I see what it is. It's not plugged in. Yeah, it's actually took that laptop to the main table to do the taxes from. I feel like doing something a little bit different today. Maybe we'll do a computer game episode. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll have to clear that desk off and do it there. Because doing it at this angle will just mess up my neck something fierce. I always wanted to play that game that they made called Princess of the East. And they even give you little DBA armies for it. I mean, that was done during the time that DBA 2.2 was out. So it gave you DBA 2.2 armies for each one of the factions. And I think they encourage people to fight battles using DBA now that I think about it. Somebody was given, they do reviews of the stuff for show and tell every month on the at the model meeting, and they always point out, oh, this is a terrible model, or this was a bad kit, or it didn't go together well, or what have you. And I've been out of building models for a long time, and there's a bunch of model companies I'd never heard of before. But there's still some that 20 years ago just make you cringe. There's so many products that they made, these particular companies, that were so bad. I would just steer clear of anything that they made. Lindbergh, Glencoe, just stuff that just either had bad instructions or didn't fit together, or both. Just like, I know they made a model for this thing, but did anybody ever put this thing together to see if it fit correctly? Definitely the anti-Tamiya category. To me, it's pretty much the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. They just don't do stuff in, they don't do armor 1/72 scale, but they're the gold standard as far as I'm concerned or anything else. There's other people that have things that have more detail and stuff like that than them, but um, nothing goes together as well as them. They were based for red actions when I bought them. I just never got around to getting them on the table. The rules fit well with your gaming vibe, though. I'm getting rid of projects that are a distraction. I totally understand that. Because they will not be used in games with mates. My own pet vanity projects, really. Tamiya with Verlinden editions, S tier. Dude, you're speaking my language. You must be my age-ish. Verlinden was the gold standard. Verlinden, when I stopped modeling, Verlinden was the shit. And I bought some Verlinden things. I had a Tamiya Panzer IV-D that I made for Africa, and it would look like shit compared to what I do now. But you know, the internet, look, I get ideas from other people, but I thought it looked pretty good at the time. I bought the Africa Corps figures that Verlinden made, including one guy that had a mask, you know, back when masks were cool-ish, and had little dots on them like it was like a napkin from an Italian restaurant. Anyways, and I remember having that I have one of the Verlinden books on the Tiger tanks, detailing the Tiger tanks. But Verlinden stuff had really good detail. But back then, chipping wasn't a thing. If you look at Verlinden stuff, none of his tanks had chipping, and all of a sudden, like, chipping shows up. The most thing we did was we'd take pastels, the actual pastel like crayons and stuff, and we go over them with sandpaper, get the powder, and then we'd apply the powder in different places. That was the most advanced thing that we got to. I remember buying the Tamiya the Panther, and wanted to do a cursed Panther. So I ended up spending like $50 or something like that on a separate turret, separate barrel, all these other places, and I had to get the wet dry sandpaper and trim them down because they were made out of resin. They were well made pieces. All the road wheels, I had to change all the road wheels because they had only 16 bolts instead of 32. All that kind of shit. And I'm like, I don't want to do that stuff now. I want to spend all the time painting it, not building all these extra add-on things. I can do it. I'd just rather spend my time doing something else. Because the thing is, I'm not going to want one of the vehicle. I'm not going to let me build a Sherman. Like, no, I want 6. So I don't want to spend all that time doing the 6 Shermans. We don't have time for everything, so we kind of have to pick and choose what we're going to allow ourselves to have time for. Oh, we just had a runaway moron. This is a cool vehicle. Holomatics? Holomatic. It's a Badger. Is this based on a real vehicle? I bet it is. Doesn't tell you the scale. Matchbox were really good about telling you what scale something was. This will need a refurb if we ever go to... If we ever go back to doing that. I'd more likely do that than play Gaslands. And Gaslands is a fun game, but it's full of loopholes. I'm tired of loophole gaming. Like, yep, we know there's a loophole, and you just have to deal with a loophole. I'm like, no, I hate loopholes. Did I put it away? Maybe I did. Here's Sunny Skin Tone. I guess I did put it away. And here's Red Leather. Hell bent for red leather. Oh no, we have one that's already opened. Maybe say that enough. I'll have a different song stuck in my head instead of. Man, I've been playing these Americans, man. I've got this in the mood in my head, freaking constantly playing. I mean, I guess there's worse songs you get stuck in your head, but my God, I'm not a child of the 1940s. I always like seeing those posts where people will complain about songs. I can't stand this song anymore, worst songs of whatever. Or you forget and you remember, oh yeah, it's that thing that I always would change the channel when it would come on. Now, music's not that important to me anymore. I usually don't listen to any. It's a big deal when I was 17 through 23, probably. But now I'm like, whatever. There's things I like, there's things I don't like, but can't remember the last time I bought any music. Just not that important. I don't want to be like any musicians. It's not cold enough to have gloves on. Figures with gloves just look weird in war. Like you see those, you always have those Panzerführers that come in that they're dressed with their freaking tie, and they're all dressed to the nines to go do their evildom in their black uniforms, and then they got gloves on. Like they always have those Panzer commanders that always have that position where they're just like, they're just like propped up like, oh, what have we here, And they're always wearing their little gloves, like, I challenge you to a duel, slap you across the face kind of thing. And just looks weird painting the gloves. Painting fingers and faces is an opportunity to make these miniatures look human. So if you don't do that, it's almost like a missed opportunity to show their humanity. And I mean that because, a lot of times we're painting inanimate things. We're painting planes or tanks or, stuff like that. Because I'm not a Napoleonic really gamer, or anything like that. But I think it's a good opportunity to show some humanity in a world full of things, machines. All right, this is the side where he has no face. Great. Now I'm going to have that Billy Idol song stuck on my head. Eyes without a face. Well, the war version would actually be face without eyes, but I just want to know when the hell they're going to. Everybody's talking about tariffs and this and tariff that. I don't worry about that stuff. I want to know when the hell the shipping is going to get back down the cross channel. Yeah, it's a big fucking channel. The cross pond shipping gets back to how it used to be. Probably never, unfortunately. The shipping rates what keeps me from ordering things from overseas, not the not the exchange rate or tariffs or anything like that. It's good to guy's going to have a decent face when I'm done with it. Mr. Barnes, welcome. Mr. White. My wife hates it when I say that. I said, well, that's just kind of inadvertently the way I've just started to pronounce that name. I don't know when that started. That color, white. Speaking of old modeling stuff, some of the best stuff out there is still the Squadron Signal publications. Their line drawings are, in my opinion, second to none. They're like almost like made by the same people that made the Tamiya instructions. Like just spot on. So let me give myself a little bit. Man, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of dust. There's dust from like fill from shirts and stuff like that because it's always like dark. It's like these little wisps of dark lint. And they're noticeable because it's, this is a white background. White. Now, I think I better put a new spot of white. Yeah, I don't know what they are. I've never noticed them before. Barnes, I've never noticed them before until, relatively recent. But there's a red one here. They're obviously fibers, and they're obviously fibers from our clothing. Um, yeah, they're not a big problem, but that one's definitely red. Probably breathing all that shit in too. All right, I think. Let's see if he's. I think that's maybe just a wee bit more. Francois Verlinden. This guy, this guy looks grand. You say grand? No, that too, but he's grand. Grand. Nice. Hunting Jerry. All right. Where is U.S. Olive Drab? There it is. We seem to notice them after painting an area. Yeah, they don't seem to appear in my work, but they are like, yeah, this just, where dost thou come from? They're almost always blue or black. There might be white ones there too. I just don't see them. I notice that now because I'm basically painting in +6. And that's not normal dust. Normal dust isn't that color, isn't that shape. That's fibrousness. That's what I should keep the wet palette around here for. I just need a small wet palette just for the black and the white. Too drastic. We're not there yet. I got a fair amount of American vehicles to do. I got those 4 Shermans, really, 3 M10s. I think a Jeep or two. I'm going to use the little boy's room. I'm under pressure, and I'll be right back. Yeah, I don't care if it's more efficient to paint multiple guys at a time. I don't enjoy it as much. I don't enjoy. Um, I enjoy seeing the progress on one figure. Actually, I don't think I ever painted a 1/35th scale American vehicle. Because I'm kind of a recent convert to enjoying painting American stuff. I generally avoided them. Closest thing I had is I did have a Grant. I painted a Grant, built and painted a Grant. Painting batches of 24-foot figures. I find it really slow going recently. Yeah, I can't do it that way because it's you have nothing to show progress wise for several paint sessions. And then all of a sudden, like boom, they're done. You know, that day's great. But man, getting to that point, I just I need to stay motivated. It's like this last guy, Murphy, I painted him in no time. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we got snow guys now. All right, what color are grenades? I don't want to just assume to make them black, which that would be my inclination to do them. No, I got to make them. I got to start with a dark color. Maybe I'll highlight them with just a wee bit of this green gray, but only a wee bit. Yeah, I remember painting, was it 8 times, 4 times, 32 Roman sandals in a row. That was a pain in the ass. Where's the Iron Warriors? I think that's what it's called. No, not lead belcher. That's what that close. That's what the phalanx should have been called. It's the lead belcher. How many of those lead belchers you have on your ship? One port, one aft. So it was interesting when I was listening to James Holland. I have to want to call him Tom Holland. Nope, he's no Spider-Man. James Holland. He actually had the first time I've ever heard anybody say anything positive about Mark Clark. Like, I was like, really? I thought everybody hated that guy. What did we use as this? Skeleton bone? Did we use skeleton bone? I haven't read his book on Italy, so I don't know yet. But I remember there was a game that I used to play. The first one was called Second Front, and you could play it was all this invasion. It was all Barbarossa, and it was each counter was a corps, and you can attach different divisions to it. And it was EGA graphics. It was relatively simple, but I played that game a lot. You basically like order all your units what you were going to do, and then I think, and then you hit play, and then it all did it. And sometimes you couldn't go in places because the enemy was moving at the same time. But all the generals had different ratings in that game, and they had the other one was called Western Front. It had Italy and France in it, and all the generals had a different rating. And in that, it was rating from 1. Although I don't think anybody had a 1. You could attach different generals, different people. So you could like have something commanded directly by Hitler. Hitler was like a 2 or a 3 or something like that. It was really, really poor. You'd have like Manstein as a 9 and Rommel's an 8 and different kind of things like that. And Mark Clark was a 4. I still remember Mark Clark, a 4. There's a historian, Tom Holland. I've read a few of his books, particularly Persian Fire. Yeah, too many Holland guys. Yeah, I'm familiar with that book. I haven't read it, but are they related? Because I know he's got some other people that are related, but so I watched one of his videos, James Holland's video at the Tank Museum the other day. He had top 5 tanks, which is fake because it's top 5 tanks that they happen to have there at the museum. So you may think like some tank's number 1, but it's not there at the museum. And it was strange. You know, I don't like when historians poo-poo the British contribution to the Second World War. And I don't like it when they poo-poo the American contribution of the Second World War. I mean, it's all important. Well, if you've listened to me long enough, I'm not a pro-American or anti-British or pro-British, anti-American. I like to think that I look at things the way that, from all sides. I like to think that I do that. So when I listen to somebody and they're very pro-British, I kind of like go like, oh, okay, you're one of those guys. Or if you listen to, the gunny. Remember I don't know if you guys got that in Europe, the gunny sergeant, Ermy. Everything was him was pro-American. Like if it wasn't American, it was crap. And I don't like to listen to those type of things. And then I went to that show, and then you got the kids that are just spouting off stuff they've learned on the internet, and they're all wearaboos. Like, look, there's some things that the British did right. There's some things that the Americans did right. There's some things that the Soviets did right. There's some things that the Germans did right. As far as competency level, not necessarily what they were fighting for, obviously. But when I don't like to listen to things that have an obvious bias to them. And that whole top 5 tanks, like his rating was number 5 was a Tiger, then a Mark IV, then a Cromwell, then a Churchill, and then the Firefly. And I'm like, that's what all those vehicles, you picked 3 of the top 5 were British vehicles. I'm not saying that any of those vehicles are bad, but That's awfully biased. I'm just saying that, but at least it's different. At least he didn't use a Panther, which most people probably would have. Most people would probably put a Panther in the top 5 vehicles. I think it's fair to say. For the longest time, I grew up in a time period when 90% of the people, or even higher than 90% people, would say the Panther was the best tank of the Second World War. And, it had its issues. I mean, there were some things it was really good at, and there were some things that it was not very good at. It's definitely a good looking tank. Almost everybody would agree with that. But that's not the best tank. And that doesn't necessarily mean what I'm the most excited about, because I like crappy shit all the time, just because it's fun to, play. But I don't like things that are like people are like, oh, the German stuff's best, everybody else's stuff is crap, or the American stuff is crap. I just American stuff is the best. Nobody, so I don't like listening to biased stuff. That he rated a Cromwell higher than a Tiger or a Panzer IV. I'm like, well, there's a first for everything. Good for him. I wish that Cromwell's turret looked different. It doesn't go with the hull. It's that flat front that just. And I like the idea of a cruiser tank. I love the desert cruisers. I think they look awesome. I just don't like the way the Cromwell looks. And don't you dare put a white star on it. That just, no. Absolutely not. I don't think the Cromwells got used in Italy, now that I think about it. If they did, they didn't use very many of them. There's some stuff that, you come across just in your reading, and you're not even trying to necessarily look for it, but you kind of come across these things that seem to be apparent when you read things. Like the Firefly, there was two major versions of the Firefly. The 1C and the 5C. And the 1Cs, as far as I can tell, were all in Italy. Now, that may not be the case, but it sure seems like that's the trend. And the 1Cs don't look very good. I don't think they look very good. The hull that they're on is either cast or it's a composite. It just looks weird. It still has a badass 17-pounder. But not much use for a fast tank in Italy. Well, I don't know. The British are busy building aircraft. I think the Sherman got him pretty much to do what they wanted him to do with it, and they could just focus on building aircraft. I mean, they still built tanks, but RAF built a shitload of aircraft, like a lot. And sometimes I'm not doing a research paper, so I'll come across something. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. Like, like I'm reading about World War I, the tonnage that the Germans sunk in submarine tonnage. Like, man, they sunk a lot. Like things you'd expect in the Second World War, but not the first. Yeah, they sunk a lot in the first too. Like stuff that you inadvertently come across. Like that came across like, man, they built a shitload. The RAF built a shitload of aircraft. Things that are surprising, like the British Army at the beginning of the war was relatively small, but it was the only one, I think it was the only army in the world that was fully motorized. Like, that's impressive. Something you don't think about, Your old man did his national service in Cromwell's. He hated them plus everything else. British Army. That's because they have the driving. They have the driving position on the wrong side. Not enough Cromwells for Normandy, let alone for Italy. The Crusader III fulfilled the role well enough in Italy. They used the Crusader III all the way through. I know they used them in Sicily. The Crusader is a really interesting tank because it's the only vehicle that I can think of at this moment that as it got upgraded, it lost crew members. The Crusader 1 had more crew members than a Crusader 2, which had more crew members than a Crusader 3. I don't know any vehicle that happened on. You could say, well, when they made the Sherman Firefly, it lost a crew member from the regular Sherman. I say, yeah, but that's kind of a different vehicle. I mean, a Crusader is still a Crusader. I mean, it might be a 1, 2, or 3. And, if you want to lump those two together, okay, fine. There's two vehicles that lost crew members. I don't know of any other vehicle that did that. Other vehicles, the normal expansion would be to gain that third crew member in the turret, not lose them. Obviously, the Crusader 1 lost the machine gunner in the front to the Crusader 2, and then in the turret they lost the loader, because the Crusader 3 is unique in that the commander doubles as the loader of the 6-pounder, not the gunner that most countries do. The T-34, for instance, is the if you only have a 2-man turret, the commander's pulling the trigger. He's not loading the cannon. Except the Crusader, and there might be other exceptions, but I came across that inadvertently. I'm like, well, that's really interesting, Most of the British BEF trucks were toffed or requisitioned to equip the expansion of the army with the extraterritorial units. Yeah. Yeah, Italy is really unique, and then there's a lot of different nationalities there on the Allied side. You got Poles, you got South African Armored Division, you got New Zealanders, you got French, you got Brazilians. Mexican Air Force was in Italy. Just a smorgasbord. I mean, that's really interesting. Italians, of course. Of course, Italians on both sides. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody make figures for allied Italians. And I would imagine they probably just used US kit, if I had to guess. But I've never seen that. I've seen them make RSO Italians, which I don't have a whole lot of interest for, but fascisti. Taken up from trade. Were those British trucks relatively reliable? Because man, there's a lot of World War II stuff that's not reliable. Another fact I came across, I don't know what the longevity is of a tank before it needs it you need to switch out the engine on it. But it's really, really short. Like, I mean, as a general rule, I mean, what any vehicle I would own now is gonna make it. The engine is gonna make it with proper care and maintenance to 200,000 miles, easy. Japanese engine lasts 200,000 miles. You know, you don't do an oil change on it. You treat it like shit. Okay, but this is, you're in a war setting, and you're in an area where, you know, you're under fire. Oh, we're out of coolant. Well, we still have to drive to get through there. You know, just being abused and everything. And it seems to me that the I was surprised how little, how long, how little amount of time an engine would last. It's so short that I kind of did the comparison. I don't remember exactly what the mileage is with the longevity, but it's under 500. It's under 500 miles. A German like a Panzer III. If the Germans invaded in Barbarossa, and the Russians just said, you know what, we're going to go to the Gulag and watch the Northern Lights, and just didn't even defend the border, like they basically just pulled everybody off the border and just wanted to suck the Germans in. If the Panzer IIIs drove straight from Moscow, they would have to have and they didn't have anybody to fight. They would have to have their engines switched out before they got to Moscow. That's how unreliable tank engines are. You know, you can't make it unopposed. You can't make it to Moscow. You know, you have to switch the engine out. Like that's crazy. It's only what, 1,500 miles or something like that. I think that's about right. 1,500 miles. Like, nope, engine won't last that long. Like, wow, that's poor. That's really, really poor. I think that's right. Um, I came across that. I wasn't even looking for it. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Engine. And I'm talking about, you know, not talking about like a King Tiger or something like that that's really under strain of a lot of weight. Engine life on a Panzer. I hate going on Reddit. There's too many fanboys on Reddit. I'll have to look into that. That's really interesting because that basically means that, just using general terms, if you ran a German tank dry of fuel, if you filled the whole thing up and you ran it dry of fuel, you could only like fill it up like 5 times and then the engine would be shot. Like that's fucked up. I mean, that's really fucked up. That might be an interesting thing to do a deep dive on. That's just something that doesn't get talked about much. Logistics doesn't get talked about much, and stuff like maintenance on that really doesn't get talked about much. All right, what do we decide this guy's boots are going to be? Leather brown? Brown ass boots. And then I end up using this werewolf fur for one of them. I think that's what I did. They have a little bit of red to them. And then we're going to go pick what this guy's name is. Might as well pick the next two. I have to go into my name archive. Because the one that I have handy is just Italians and Irish. I'm like, man, I don't have any Italian name dudes. Seemed like there were more Italian named guys in the American Army than in the Italian one. No, and there's different kind of Italian names in the American Army as there are in the Italian one. There's like specific ones, just because of spelling and stuff. All right, let's not forget what we were bragging about. Oh, this is a different jacket than this other one. This one doesn't have buttons. Oh, well. Let's get this, where's this gray green? Engine factoid might help explain the halt at Dunkirk. Yeah, I don't know, but I think that's just something that people don't talk about. You know, that's got to be a factor. And the Czech chassis, that Czech 38 chassis, that was, I would bet money. I'd actually bet big money that it's one of the more reliable, well, it's definitely one of the more reliable chassis the Germans had access to. I don't know that if it's the most reliable one, but it's definitely the top three. But also, everything that ran on that chassis, wasn't very heavy, so you don't have all that extra strain on the torque and shit. Let's do his little helmet. Do they put a lot of focus on Dunkirk and Britain? It's always said that, if they wouldn't have invaded Dunkirk, then if they wouldn't have been able to evacuate Dunkirk, then there wouldn't be anybody to defend the home islands. I'm like, yeah, but they still have to mess with the Royal Navy. Like, how do you move all those guys across with the freaking Royal Navy screwing with you? Uh-oh. This is why I have notifications turned off. I don't give a shit about Jack Black, something or another. I don't follow famous people. Let's go look at names. Let's go to my name archive. It's my Italians and Irish. Should be in this box, right? It's a manila folder. Here it is, but they're not in there. No, this isn't the one because it would say soldier names on the outside. It shouldn't be on this side, but it is. Let's see what we got for the Americanos. Oh, I'm sorry. These are the Irish, the Italians, and the Jewish names. Names of Jewish descent. What do we got here? These are Brits. The Krautskis. These are the old style writing. We're not going to use those. I'm going to transfer some of those names over. Soviets. More Soviets. My African names from my African troops. More Soviets. Germans and Resistance. More Soviets. Germans. These are Americans. Americans. Krauts. Americans. Soviets. Americans. Oh, I have a Waddington. You better behave. I'm going to put some guy really doing something really lame. Like surrendering son of a bitch. Would not do that. And you know that. I have seen some Gates of Hell Ostfront videos on Sturmfuhrer PK's YouTube channel. I don't know. That guy needs a new handle, man. You can't have a I mean, I don't know. I mean, why would you pick anything Fuhrer as a YouTube handle? I mean, you wearaboo of the first magnitude. That's bad form, man. That's bad form. Sturmführer. Nazi fanboy. That screams Nazi fanboy. It may not be, but you know, you're sending the wrong message, pal. All right, what do we got here? Who's this clown? Murphy. How about a Valdez? I got a Valdez here. Got to be a Puerto Rican. What percentage of the U.S. servicemen were of Jewish descent? Because every movie has one in it, and that's fine. But it's like, you know, that's the exception. Bickford. Well, like somebody complains a lot. Bickford's complaining again. Valdez. A lot of these names I got from playing Close Combat. I mean, I can make my own names up, but where's the rest of the that piece of wood? Some of it's already painted. This. I need to make two more. Okay, and one that's a... We got a Valdez, and the other guy is going to be... Bishop. Bishop and Valdez. I can't stand the U.S. campaign and that Ostfront thing. You start off with like Rangers at Point du Hoc, and it's like, that's so freaking difficult. You're getting shot at from all directions, and you don't know which way is up. Oh, I'm glad somebody's looking forward to it. Approximately 3.5% of the roughly 16 million American soldiers who served in World War II had Jewish heritage, with over 550,000 Jewish Americans serving in the armed forces. That's a really small amount. So that's like the same amount, I don't know, probably as it is now. But there's one in every movie. There's one in every American war movie. I suspect that a big reason to that is so they can have the, you know, they encounter Holocaust stuff and, you know, how they react, which, you know, I get, you know. Well, I got plenty for that 3.5%. There'll be more than 3.5% of my guys, that's for sure. And I think what I did was, I bet I searched on the internet for names. I didn't just pull names. I pulled like actual veteran people that are, I'm sure I didn't come out with it out of nowhere. Because there's some names that are maybe would be popular now that wouldn't be popular back then. I'm just talking about surnames. That's 3 or 4 per company, 1 per platoon. So 1 in every movie seems at least accurate. Let's see. What did I pick from here? Oh, maybe this is mixed. Well, I got a Rabinowitz. I got Goetz, Goetz, Gottbaum, Schoenfeld, and that's just ones that have a common last name of that. Hertzmann. How do you know he's not German? He doesn't have 2 N's at the end of his name. German men endings have 2 N's. Normally. Okay, Valdez. All right. Bishop. All right. Who gets the Tommy gun? Is it Valdez or Bishop? I think this guy I just painted is Valdez. Surely you'd have a Cohen. I can make one. I'll maybe write myself a note. We'll make a Cohen. Okay. So this guy, Mr. Valdez, is done. So we're going to go ahead and coat him. Actually, that can wait in the clear coat. Let's roll right into the next one and put these names away. Sandusky. Is that one or not really? Could be. It's one of those, nobody's named Sandusky here in the South. That's like somebody from Illinois. All right. Bring this back. Go fill her up with some water. I'll be right back. I said, sorry, I got hungry. If I name a guy Cohen, would he have a brother? Would we be the Cohen brothers? I've never thought about putting two guys with the same surname. But if I did two, you just use their first initial. You could have A Cohen and then D Cohen. It's like, is that A Cohen or is it D Cohen? No, I don't want anybody to repeat names. That just adds too much confusion. I also don't want to avoid. I want to avoid any Americans and Englishmen with the same last name. Although that's extremely common, I would think. Maybe not Waddington, but Smith, absolutely. Statistically, should only have been about 380,000. Yeah. Well, you know, we're not doing, what do you call it? Not equal opportunity. We're not doing, forcing equal representation, whatever the hell it's called. Use the Irish spelling of Smith. Yep, that's a good idea. You're dying to get shot at, aren't you? It's not you. It's somebody with your name. Yeah, here's these fibromyalgia. All right, time for a tunic. Who makes that set that has the Battle of Berlin fighting people? Can't even think of what it's called. Man, I need to. You know what I'm talking about? The Volkssturm. Did they make a little mini Hitler? Well, that's handy for scenarios. Looks like a little shriveled up Hitler. I know. Is there any other kind? Oh, this guy's got he's got the magazine pouches for the Thompson. You know, I didn't care at that show that I went to watch the small arms. What do you call it? Demonstration. I've seen those type of things before, but I caught part of it, and I actually didn't know that they were doing that at the time. And what caught my attention is I heard an MP40. An MP40, sounds like nothing else. And the guy had an MP40 replica or whatever, wherever the heck it was. And I heard that. I'm like, oh, I've got to come over here. And the Tommy gun is really impressive. I was really impressed with the Tommy gun sound. Well, who's the one that has the little Hitler? Like the shriveled up, like the shriveled up Hitler, like the one where he's pinning the medals on these little kids who are like 12 years old. That Hitler. There's a scenario. You're playing, everybody's playing Soviets, and you have to get to him before he takes the pill. Orion. Mr. H. I actually don't mind the British pronunciation of that. H. I don't like Z. Like, we're not fighting zombies all the time. Mr. H. He was a much better art student than he was dictator. Is Orion the one I'm thinking of then, that has all the... He's kind of like crumpled over a little bit and giving his little salute. I'm pretty sure Atlantic makes one too, and probably doesn't look anything like them, because Atlantic figures all look the same. They look like lanky ass people. Bacon's on the menu. Don't overcook it. Don't overcook my bacon, damn it. I hate crispy bacon. It's like burnt too much. It's like when butter's burnt. I'm complaining about bacon that I'm not going to eat from somebody. Yeah, they're right. That looks like a cool set. That's very hard to find at a reasonable price. Not that I need it. It looks cool. Some interesting characters in there. Great for scenarios. Would people have a problem with having a scenario like that at a convention? I don't know. Not if it's out to kill them. Like, make the world a better place. Get rid of the guy. Makes some really cool Soviet assault troops, though. Guys with, like, body armor and stuff. That play, though, that decided to play enlisted for a little while. There's parts of that game that I like, and there's other parts that are like, okay, when's this scenario going to end? Like, then play this for like 20 minutes and the scenario doesn't end. I don't play those kind of multiplayer games, though, very often because it just drives me nuts how long it takes to find the game and load it up. That's even happening on World of Warships. It take you like 5 minutes to find a fucking game. I'm like, what the hell, man? I can't do that stuff for a long period of time. I can do this for a long period of time. I can't do gaming. You don't have anything to show for it. This is a cool posed figure right here. Yeah, I think the American uniform would be a lot more interesting looking, at least in World War One, if they did a couple things. First of all, if they ditched those damn gaiters, I think they look silly. That and they look a lot better with the M40. Like the late war American uniform looks a lot better than the when they landed at Normandy. It's got more pockets and shit like that on it. Although I was surprised when they said that the Tommy gun only had a 20 round magazine. I mean, yeah, they made a 20 round magazine for it, but most of the time they had the 32 rounder, I would think. I mean, 20 rounds is like worthless. And I wouldn't put that on automatic fire ever. Be a single shot in that baby. Be just like the BAR, man. The BAR just you can't suppress when you only have 20 rounds before you have to do a reload. I think we're about right where we need to be. Just need to add a little bit of white to it. Yep. Oh, I did play some of what's that game that one of you guys told me about, or maybe I told you guys about it, that that turn-based thing. Classified 1944. Cute little game. Interesting because it looks like this guy has loops here. He's got the shoulder things. I didn't think this overcoat had that. Well, I hope we don't have to change the color of it. All right. I'm gonna go get my. I think the colors of those magazine pouches are the same color of the rest of the webbing. Pretty certain that's the case. starting to smell like an old book. Paratroopers. Yeah, an M43 jacket with the brown pants looks pretty good, actually. It might be a different color. Well, I'm probably just going to leave this guy in this color. There's another figure that's exactly the same pose. Oh, he's got the things too. He's got the shoulder things as well. Okay. Show me a guy with a Tommy gun. Yeah, why can't I find it? $40, $39.95. Yep. $19.93. Oh, come on. All right, well, there's another guy in the same pose, so we'll paint him differently. He doesn't have a sidearm, does he? No, which technically means he's not a squad leader. I would think that the squad leader would have a 1911. Okay, we'll do the green pants on him. And the other guy that's going to have a greenish type overcoat, we'll do the brown pants on him. That way, even though there's a tiny little bit of pants showing, very little. Very, very little. Are these Americans or are they Germans dressed as Americans? Uh-huh. Switching those road signs. All right. Now here's gray green. We're going to need that. I've never seen Longest Day. I think I tried to watch it one time, but it's black and white. Why the hell would I want to see that? Tiniest amount of paint. All right. Does he have something slung over? Let's see. Let's see if we can dissect what's going on here. Looks like he has some kind of bandolier. Let's just start painting and see where it takes us. There's a little gray-green here. Too light. Here's something that doesn't jive. Why does it show that I've only been on here an hour and 18 minutes? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Something queer is afoot. I'm still on. No. Okay, maybe my phone's just wrong. Okay. There was a slight disconnect when he showed up as the meme. Huh. Well, I don't think it affected the main video. Okay. Right. We'll just get on with it. We will just get on with it. All right, let's brighten this up. Geez, not that bright. I gotta look for an actual picture of this because there's not a lot of detail in that pouch, and I feel like it needs to have some stripes in that area. So I'm gonna do a search here for Tommy gun ammo pouches. Okay, here it is. Images. Okay, perfect. Good morning, Jorge. Happy Sunday to you, man. Since it's 5, I'm gonna do the one in the middle. and then 2 other ones, and then 2 on this side. You didn't get your supplies for the airbrush thing yet, did you? I was going to order a big, I want to make it in this size. But I probably shouldn't. I would probably just keep refilling that little container. And that using this size of a container for is good because it's precise. The top on that, you make a mess everywhere. Ist das ein Basis for the scenario mit Soldaten and Panzer? Is that the first basis for a scenario with soldiers and tanks? Yeah, I'm just doing some snow stuff. Yeah, I'm doing some snow stuff. I got some snow Shermans, and the snow material, I like it. It's got a little bit of a glisten to it. And all it is this stuff straight from the pot. Golden light molding paste. It's made in America, so you guys won't be able to afford it. I don't think it makes it. If you doubled the price of this, you don't ever have to buy that again. It's like you buy it once, like just don't lose it. You'll never have to buy it again. Yeah, I just feel like doing something a little different. Just seeing what the base on this. I got snow Germans, I got snow Russians also to paint. The only problem about getting old models of tanks and stuff like that is I really would rather not do the rubber tracks. They just don't lay well. Now, we're going to have to stop in a little bit. And then we'll continue this guy at a later point. All right, folks, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.